teaching is really important, and one of the challenges, I mean, first challenge I think that Ivan's work raises is the challenge of linking a Centre for Modern Poetry and the creativity associated, imagination associated with the Centre for Modern Poetry with the oldest writing that has survived, and how we cross-fertilise imaginatively to make that work for us. And I think it does work for us in the school, at least it has up to now. I hope it continues to work in the future. The other challenge, of course, for the Heaney Centre is how to teach creative writing, how gifted, imaginative, clever writers who are gifted, imaginative and clever because they have been looking creatively at their own work can move to look creatively at the work of others and work in a pedagogical fashion as well as a creative one. One of the great memories I have, and as a head of school I've tended not to teach, but I have gone out to see some sixth formers, and as the head of school one of the great glories was a visit that I made with our next speaker to an East Belfast grammar school, and where we studied a poem, a really interesting poem, and where we got some tremendous responses. So I'd ask Sinead to come forward and read her text, which we did in Queen's actually. Remember it was in the Queen's Graduate Centre? It was, I think it was Queen's. We brought the school, we went out twice, we brought them to Queen's and then we went out to them. But this was the poem that Sinead and I looked at. I looked at it as a critic, isn't that right? And you looked at it. This was the writer and I talked as a critic. And we all know who the sixth formers
It's lovely to be here. It's a lovely event that Paul has organised for John, and I'm really happy to take part and to express my thanks to John Thompson for his incredible help and support to me in my role at Queen's. So the poem I'm going to read is called Zero, and it imagines that Alexander the Great, far from dying abroad at the end of his empire, came back to Greece and brought with him the spoils of his vast conquest with him. And among all the material objects that he brought back some ideas, and one of those ideas was the number 0, which the Greeks did not have at that time. And so my poem imagines the Greeks' response to the idea of the number 0. 0. Whatever else it was, he stole from the east. Indigo, gold, a brace of abused and temporary women, frankincense, the inevitable spice or two, or the fruit that shed itself with such feral sweetness on the tongue it begged renaming. Alexander also stowed nothing. That double nick in the Babylonian plaque, which, of everything, was the easiest to store. The women were a nightmare, precisely because it lived nowhere and therefore everywhere. In 2 spare horseshoes angled together, in the kiss of a thumb and forefinger, in the sigh at the bottom of a poured out water jar, in the memory of some noon white city square wherever luck ran out, or faith or anger. But when Alexander delivered 0 to the Greeks, they turned and saw, or thought they saw, a wellhead blacken in front of them, and incredulous bricked in, oh, unravelling into inkiness like a sleeve, the kind you might toss a stone into and never hear the splash, though you stand and wait, your ear awash in silence for an hour. And over it, the bric-a-brac of kitchens appeared, suspended in the sunshine. Knives, lemons, sieves, pots, bowls, a funnel of dailiness, which the wellhead then swallowed like a child, and sensing where it could lead, this number, no number that would eat the world. The Greeks turned back to Alexander in the advancing shade and smiled. For there were still angles, there were still 3 old angels skipping over heaven, carrying harps and signs.